You know, in wrestling, they changed it from professional wrestling to wrestling entertainment. I think the news needs to do that too. They need to change to, you know, news for entertainment purposes, because they're not telling people the truth. Posting their WalkAway story, and I kind of wanted to add mine. Now, with me, it started little by little. Towards the end of Trump's first term, that's when the COVID thing struck. Everybody was coming out, you know, Schumer and Pelosi saying, go out to a Broadway, go out to Chinatown, you know, basically like Trump's out of his freaking mind. Then the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden, Biden was in office and they were mandating, the jab. I did not get it. I was not going to, but people lost their jobs because they didn't want to take a mandate and take a jab from something that wasn't really even studied. That was my first issue. Then with the George Floyd thing going on with the defund the police and all that craziness that happened, I didn't quite agree with that. So that was the first strike against them. Like, I feel like the last 4 years was pretty much still, because they knew Trump was going to try to run again. Everything was bashing Trump. They were trying to put him in jail. They were, all these things that were going on, but nothing really happened for us. Like, nothing happened. They got the people out of Afghanistan, and that was a disaster. But nothing really happened. You hardly ever heard anything from Biden. And then, of course, they inserted Kamala. Well, I didn't really have that big of a problem with that. You know, everybody was talking about the cognitive decline of Biden and the fact that Kamala was just placed there. It's not like they kind of, had a choice. They just put her in there. And then she was running for president, which nobody had a choice on that. That wasn't the issue. My issue was pretty much the COVID thing, the defund the police, and then all the crazy little programs. The things like the pronouns and calling people birthing parents and calling, Kamala came out and said, oh, we're going to let the people in prison transition and we're going to pay for it. And I'm like, wait a second. So I figured, still wasn't quite sure about Trump coming into office because, they were trying to, put him in prison. But I thought, well, if they win this year, I'm going to go to prison because I could use a little help on top. I could use a new butt. I could use some lip filler. I got some plastic surgeries. Maybe they'll pay for it. I think the transitioning children thing was a problem for me. I just don't think that children, if they don't have the right to drink, to smoke, or to drive, they really shouldn't have these decisions being made. They're just too young. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cat. I wanted to be a boy. I was a tomboy. I didn't want a surgery. And if I had wanted a surgery, it's because my brain wasn't fully developed yet. Wait till it fully develops and you make your decision. I didn't like that I heard that they were taking children away from parents who didn't agree with transitioning. These are their children. There was a lot of problems. So this election is coming up. I watched the DNC. I watched the RNC. The DNC was a complete, let's see how much we can talk crap about Trump. Didn't hear a whole lot of policies. And the things that they did talk about was furthering the DEI programs and things like that, which I don't think people need to get jobs based on the color of their skin or their sexual orientation. I think it should be a merit thing. Call me old-fashioned. The RNC was a little different. They talked about loving the police and talked about that they needed more funding for police and police training so something like the George Floyd issue wouldn't happen again. I really like that. We need to stop that. Defunding the police is not going to do it. To be clear, in this election, I did not vote Republican or Democrat. I just couldn't. I just didn't see anybody to vote for. And the thing is, I was a hater of Trump. My dad hated Trump. I just wasn't on board with Trump. I just couldn't be. But all the things that he was spouting that he wanted to do, waste, fraud, and abuse stuff, those are Democratic views because they all said that they wanted to do this. The things that came out of Trump's mouth were my views. And I'm like, wait a second, I have not switched my views. How am I Republican all of a sudden? I'm not. See, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. People are right when they say that because I have all the views that Democrats have that they've decided they no longer have. They have changed their views to spite Trump. I don't agree with that. I don't like flip-flopping. That's my biggest problem in politics is the flip-flopping. I see Gavin Newsom in California flip-flopping because he wants to run for president. Now all of a sudden, well, maybe there shouldn't be men and women's sports. Come on, he was an advocate for that. I don't like flip-flopping. I can't stand it. One of the main reasons I could not vote Democrat this year wasn't the candidate. It was more or less when I saw the Amish. Now, the Amish is about 400,000 in population all over. I forget how many we have here in the state of Pennsylvania, which happens to be one of the swing states. We're usually a Democratic state. Well, when the Amish go out to vote, you know you have a problem. Because of the fact the Amish does not get involved in politics. They don't want no part of it. Problem is, the Amish did go out and vote. Because in Birmingham, Pennsylvania, one of our Amish farms was shut down. He could no longer farm in the state of Pennsylvania. Now let's figure this out, because how many recalls have you seen on food? None of these places get shut down. If there's a recall on lettuce, they still get to run it once everything's cleaned up. This guy didn't have a chance. This is the man's livelihood, and he was banned from doing the only thing he really knows. So the Amish voted. I had to side with the Amish here because there was a problem. Now you hear Trump sitting there, promises made, promises kept thing, and I was listening to him, and he's doing what he said. You know, it's very rare, because usually when you do have views, you have policies, which the Democrats did not have. Well, they had views on things that they could have done in the last 4 years that they didn't do. They're going to do it the next 4 years now. So I'm watching Trump do all these promises made, promises kept, and by God, he's doing it. How do you not lean a little bit closer to the right? And I hear all these people saying, oh, he's a convicted felon. Oh, the J6 thing. Let me tell you, on both sides of the spectrum, right or left, you have extremists. We're seeing that with Democrats let's mandate electric vehicles. It's better for the environment. Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats are burning the electric vehicles and protesting. And again, another flip-flop thing. The thing is, nobody has a problem with convicted felons if they're illegals and they're over here unaliving people. They have a problem with a convicted felon in business. They have a problem with a convicted felon because of hush money, which pretty much, if you look up the amount of cases for people trying to hush other people, it's pretty normal. I wouldn't really call that a felon. But I'm not standing up for the guy, trust me. I'm just saying, when I think of convicted felon, if he went and unalived somebody, that would be a different story right now. But again, you're seeing videos come out that Fauci was the one who was involved in the pandemic. He predicted it because he was involved in it. Then you hear all this stuff. Now these people are coming out saying that this is what was political warfare towards Donald Trump to try to get him in prison. You can't make this stuff up. The Democratic Party needs to change, get their act together, get some policies. Come the 2028 election, I will be watching both the DNC and the RNC. You need to do something if you think I'm ever going back to the Democratic Party. The left will listen to this story and they'll just say, yeah, but Trump, you can find a lot of things wrong with both parties. My thing isn't a love for Republican views. My thing is a distrust of the Democratic Party. The flip-flopping, the fear-mongering, the lies. Oh, this bill is going to be terrible for the American people. You know, you're going to hell in a handbasket. All these cuts. How are you going to live? And come to find out that's not true. You're scaring American families. And the fact that they don't stand for America. See, I see them not standing for the Americans. I see them standing for Ukraine. They won't stand for people that have been alived by illegal immigrants or children with cancer, but they'll stand and clap for Ukraine. They'll side with any other country and yet not side with Americans. I have a problem with that. I also see the Democrats also calling anyone who thinks differently than them uneducated, uninformed, non-critical thinkers. They're all on Medicaid. It's really hypocritical to say that because I thought you were a loving party. See, to vote, let's say, or to be on the side of any Republican as a former Democrat, you actually have to do the research. And it's really hard to do with legacy media because they're not truthful. You know, in wrestling, they changed it from professional wrestling to wrestling entertainment. I think the news needs to do that too. They need to change to, news for entertainment purposes because they're not telling people the truth. It's hard for us to dig for the truth and to do the real research, but we're the ones doing it because if we're going to say, oh my God, Trump is right, or wow, he's doing good, how can this be? We got to do our research. I'm sorry, but we do. We research to make sure that we're not blindly following, because we're used to being a Democrat. So I think they're wrong on this one. They're the ones that need to do the digging and do the research and inform themselves and educate themselves on what's going on. They need to change their views, stop flip-flopping, figure out some policies, get their crap back together. Then come 2028, maybe I'll consider their views. I don't know. We'll see.
For more great videos, download the WalkAway Social app at walkawaysocial.com. Share your testimonial and join our community.